guys, it's Kelly here, and I'm back with another video for Honeybee Stamps. This is an edited replay from a live that I did the week before last, and we are going to be using the Warm Holiday Wishes stamps and dies. This is also made to work with the festive frames. I didn't use that for today's card, but they are very nice together. The Lovely Layers candy canes, this was from a previous release, and then we are using the Frosted Filigree 3D embossing folder. We're making a 5x7 card, so you'll be able to see all of it. And there's a fun little technique with the background, but also I really wanted to show you guys, there's only one candy cane in this set and it only goes in one direction, but I wanted there to be two in the other direction. So I'm going to show you a little trick for getting kind of cleaner die cuts that are the reverse of what we would normally use. So here I have cut my Nina Solar White cardstock to a 5x7. I have spritzed it with water. I did get like a bigger water droplet, which I don't love. It did dry and end up being okay. But you might want to hold your mister a little farther away so that you really just get a nice fine little spritz. And so then I ran that through. I love this 3D embossing folder. You guys have seen me use it in another card where it was cut down to an A2, but this just gives me like Frozen vibes. I can see myself even using it outside of like the holiday season. I just really, really like it. So then I went through and did the die cutting of my candy canes. So I did the red stripe and the white base. And then here is this little trick that I use when I want to flip something. So I'm going to do it how I would normally do it, but I'm going to put it in kind of like a protective sleeve of copy paper. And this, I'm not saying that it's 100%, because if your plate is really kind of beat up, you might still see it. But, you know, normally on the back of our die cuts, we see all those little grooves and stuff that are things that like die cuts of Christmas past. So the sleeve helps to protect it from that, because not everybody, you know, we don't always just have like a clean die cut piece, plate that we've never used before with no die cuts in it to help. I tried to zoom in so that you could see. I don't even necessarily know that this was helpful, but I can tell you in real life, like when you look at the card, you can't see any of those divots or anything. So I'm going to continue to use the same sleeve to cut out the red. I am just going to cut it in a different place than where it cut through the previous candy cane. So another way that you can do this is you can actually flip your die and you can cut it like up into your top plate. And that would also make it so that you didn't have those marks, from the pressure being pushed into it, but not everybody likes to cut into their top plate. So those are just some ways for you to kind of, have both the regular and then the reverse of your die cuts. Here I am doing some ink blending on the background. This is, what did I use? Salty Ocean, Blueprint Sketch, Chip Sapphire, and Black Soot. So for the base color, I use a Salty Ocean, and I am putting that all over. And then I'm going to start kind of like building a halo around it, because my candy canes and its greenery are going to be in the center. And so I want to draw the eye there, but also I want the sides to be nice and dark, so that way we have the contrast for the technique that we are going to do. So once I get this color done, I am going to speed this up a lot, because the ink blending does take a little bit of time, especially when you're trying to get really saturated color. So rather than, if you were in the live, you didn't have a choice. You were you were stuck watching me do the whole thing. But isn't that why we have the edited videos? So we don't have to watch all the boring stuff. We chit chat through it, but and if you're here for the chit chat, then, the lives are definitely for you. But if you're like, I just want to see how you made the card, then this speed up version is probably just fine. So, I can't believe that I am making Christmas cards already. we are getting ready this week to celebrate our little jelly bean's 4th birthday. She turned 4 yesterday. It is so bittersweet because I love seeing her little personality come out and all the different things that she is learning. She's so smart. She has such a good memory. Even like we were on the way home yesterday from dance and she was like, "Mommy, is that the gas station where they didn't have the bread?" And I'm like, when I tell you guys, that was like months ago. I stopped into that gas station and they did not have bread. And actually, I was a little taken aback because growing up, like you could stop at any gas station and get milk and bread. They just like, not that they were out, like they didn't sell it. And so I was like, yeah, it was. And I was shocked that she remembered, but she is super smart. And so we are celebrating with our family members this weekend. She is going to have I think I've mentioned this in several videos. She is going to have a K-pop Demon Hunters party. That's what she also went as for Halloween. I did share a picture on my Instagram if you wanted to see that. And so I'm so late to the, like, I'm just late for everything right now. That's just how I feel. But there's a mom and pop shop, that will blow up like other balloons that you order from other places. Obviously, if you purchase other things. So I did purchase some K-pop Demon Hunters balloons online. And then I'm going to take them in there to have them blow them up for Saturday. And then of course I buy other balloons from them, to fill out the bunch. And I also get my like paper plates and things. Well, they're really plastic plates, but I get them there as well. Are they cheaper other places? Yes, but I'm happy to support a small business, a local business in my community. Okay, let's talk about the background. So we hit it with the heat because Distress ink is made to stay wet longer so you can emboss with it. We don't want that. You're going to find out I didn't do a very good job here in a minute anyway. I treated the whole thing with my anti-static tool, and then this is a Tim Holtz brayer. I also have a speedball brayer. I do like this one slightly better because it has the feet on it. So when you set it down on its feet, the ink part doesn't touch your desk, which is kind of nice. But so I'm inking this up with our Brilliant White pigment ink. And I'm going to go around the edges and put this white right over top of that embossing. Now, it's not perfection. Keep that in mind. There is no way to make it perfect. And sometimes you will get ink in places that are in the background. You can see that kind of around the outskirts. I'm not overly worried about it, but you could leave this just like this, or you could put white embossing powder over it to help it stand out. I am going to use a sparkle embossing powder. So really it's a clear, which means it's going to let us see that little bit of white. So it'll be a little bit lighter, but it's going to add a bunch of glitter. So now you can see as I put it on here, it's sticking to everything because not everything was dry as it should be, and I didn't do a test run, probably because I was live. But I'm not overly concerned about it because the embossing powder is clear, so really all it's going to do is just add glitter in more places. I'm going to go in and clean up the areas that I can with just a plain dry paintbrush. So I'm going to knock it off kind of where I can out of the center especially. But anywhere that it's, sticking, I'm not overly concerned because again, it is clear and it is sparkle. So all it's going to do is add more glitter. It's not going to cover up my color at all. So if you're impatient with your ink blending and you want like a really cool technique to do with your 3D embossing folder, but you don't want to have to wait for your ink blending to dry, the clear sparkle embossing powder is an excellent choice. So here I am just heat setting this, and you can still very clearly see that the top layers are lighter. They're not a bright white, but they are definitely creating some contrast with that darker blue in the background. I did trim this down a little bit so that I could mat it on a white card base, so it has that little bit of white in the background. But we took a vote, and we frequently do actually in the lives, to see if we were going to leave it a full 5x7 or not. And apparently a lot of you guys like to make bigger cards, so we did end up leaving it the full 5x7. so that the embossing folder could just be out there in all of its glory. I think it's beautiful. I really like it. I think that if you use, we were talking about like those frames at the beginning, like the festive frames are made to go with those sentiments. If you used one of the larger frames, you could probably just stick it right in the middle here and be like done with it. It would be great. So here I'm just figuring out which one is the front and which one is the reverse. And then we're going to zoom in so that we can do the coloring. So the base is white. I am going to color this with my cool gray markers. And I'm just going to color the whole thing. It's easier than doing each individual stripe. So the part where it's on the inside where it's hooked, which again, we're doing the reverse. So one side is going to be, the shadows are going to be to the left, and one side the shadows are going to be to the right. And then, so I went in with the C5 just around those edges, and then I'm going to go back in with the C3. I'm going to completely cover that C5, but then I'm also going to flick it a little bit. We still want it to read as white. We're just putting in the shadows, but I'm just going to follow the shape of the curve of the candy cane. So you can see I'm turning my candy cane as I am going, so that I can follow that shape. And then once I get to where it's just like the straightaway, obviously it goes, a little bit faster. And then the same thing on the other side. And then I'll blend it out with the C1, and we'll move on to shading the striped portion. I'm very excited to see everybody this weekend to celebrate our little jelly bean. But I do feel like I'm just behind the 8 ball with pretty much everything, with every single thing. Like my wonderful mother-in-law called me yesterday and was like, hey, what can I bring for Saturday? And I'm like, excellent question. It's an excellent question. What can you bring? What can you bring? Just because I feel like it's just been a crazy kind of time. I don't know if it's because like her birthday is always the same distance away from Halloween. Every year it is the same distance away, but for some reason this year it felt like it was very much right on top of the other. And I don't know if that's because we've added in like dance that we're doing. So we had like the Halloween, or like the Halloween for what am I thinking of? For dance class, and then we had the Halloween for daycare, and then we had actual Halloween, and then we had the event that my husband worked, so we had Halloween for that. And so it just felt like there was a lot of things we were getting and doing dressing up for, like right in a row. And then you add in her birthday, and so like her birthday fell on a day that we didn't have Peanut. He was actually with his dad. So then I had to reach out to his dad to be like, hey, can we swap? So that he could come out to dinner with us when we took her out to dinner for her birthday. Because she would never, as she calls him, she would never want to celebrate without her best brother. That is what she calls him. And he's always like, I'm your only brother, but she does not see it that way. He is her best brother. She just absolutely adores him. She even, like when there's been, like he's been at his dad's for like a day or two, like that baby will run right past me looking for her brother, which he doesn't really appreciate right now. But I think as he gets older, he will. I've tried to explain it to him. I'm like, there will, like what you're experiencing with your sister, like that unconditional love is completely rare. And there are very few people in your life who will give that to you. So enjoy it. So here with the bow, what I'm doing is I am deciding what's going to be in front and what's going to be in back. So whatever section of the ribbon you want to be in back, that is where you want to add your shadows. So for like these little loops, either side can be on top. You just have to pick one or the other. And so for the loop that comes up and over to be on top, you just add shadows to the underneath. Same thing with the berries. the berry that sits on top is going to have the least amount of shadows. The other ones that are tucked under, we do want to add shadows to. And here I wanted there to be like two different reds because we have the red of the candy cane and then the red of the bow and the berries. So I wanted more of like a cool red and a tomato red. And we talked about that quite a bit in the live. But truthfully, I don't think it mattered one iota. I'm just being real with y'all. I don't think it mattered at all. I think because they are both reds, and then I ended up adding like some glitters and stuff. I think they probably could have colored them all the same and it would have been fine. But there's another option for you just in case you don't like my regular red combination. You can use the R20s family, and that is definitely more tomatoey. So I originally pulled out two colors for the pine sprig that is included in the set. I actually only ended up using one color, and then the three colors for the little holly. So normally I'm always on here talking about how like my kids interrupt me, my dogs interrupt me, a sneeze interrupts me, or a cough or whatever. And you know what got me this time? A yawn. A random yawn in the middle of me talking, which doesn't seem like it would take up that much time. But when all you're doing is listening, that time, that expanse of the yawn, like, 20 seconds of just dead air is very noticeable. So I had to cut it out and start again. So here with the holly, you guys have probably seen me color holly or like these kind of serrated types of leaves before. I like to add darkness in the middle and then just a little triangle like where it's inset. And actually in the live that we did today we did a live where we used the stitches. One of them came from the bookmark and one of them was just one of the in-stitches dies, and we made some cards that did not include stitching at all because I like to kind of stretch the different products that I have. And I like to be able to show you how you can do that too. Get more bang for your buck and all that jazz. So I did color my holly leaves in that video pretty much the same exact way. It just gives them a lot more shape, and I have a tendency to find them more interesting that way. But you could just do some lines up the middle and then some lines, just kind of to the left and the right. And that would be totally fine. Oh, here is where I started to lose my Copic nib. This YG03 was one of the first colors that I ever bought in my Copics. And I've never changed the nib on it. And so I have been, how long have I been coloring with Copic markers? A long time. Over 10 years. 12 years, 13 years. I started card making in 2009, 2010. That's when I started card making. And so that would have been 15 years ago. And then it took me like probably 2 years into there to start coloring with my alcohol markers. So yeah, but I've never changed the nib. So that just goes to show you how long they last. But now I do have to change it because it's falling off. So here, now that all the coloring is done, the candy canes are really easy to put together. And again, even I hope that you can see, like when we were zoomed in and we were doing the coloring, that you don't see that those marks, on the back of the candy cane. Now, I will say it doesn't have the same embossed detail that the front does. There isn't really much I can do about that because there isn't any embossing on the back. But I don't think, unless you're like right up close, that you would notice it. Here, I decided to cut apart my pine sprigs just so that it was a little bit easier for me to kind of arrange how everything was coming together. I have a tendency to like a more tight design, a more like compact design. So like the whole time I was making this, I was like, these candy canes are not going to be enough to carry this 5x7 card. And I kind of still feel that way. There was a lot of people in the comments who were like, no, like the candy canes are more than enough. And And that's, you have to tell me you'll have to tell me like what your opinion is. So here I decided I was going to white heat emboss on some navy cardstock. I originally stamped both the Merry Christmas and the From Your House to Ours, because I thought maybe I was going to do more of like a central sentiment, but I didn't end up doing that. Here, this is before I had my craft catchers. Wouldn't that have been helpful with all of that embossing powder that I spilled? It would have been very helpful to have. I didn't have them yet, so I couldn't use them, and I ended up having to just scoop it and pitch it, which is a bummer. So there, once it's heat embossed, this is where I'm trying to kind of figure out what I am doing. And I kind of messed around with it a little bit to figure out how I wanted to arrange it. Once I had that arrangement down, I very quickly realized that the berries were getting lost behind the bow because they were the same. So in order to fix that, I am coloring the berries the same color combination, those cool reds, as I did the candy canes, and then that helped them to show up a bit more behind the more like tomato red bow. So now I'm going to glue my candy canes in like a little cross section, like one going one way, one going the other way, and then they're kind of joined. I do think that they are very cute. And this is the truth, I've never used them before because I always get like caught up using other things. So it was fun to finally be able to get to use them. I think that they're great. And of course they have all that great like detail that we love from Honeybee. I did have some glue problems during this live. I think this was the last day that my glue was with us. It has since gone to be with Jesus, and I have opened a new glue, which is much better. But you guys also know that I am cheap. So I do try to get the most out of what I can. So you'll notice that there is a lot of like cutting of the film as I'm doing the gluing. And it is because I kept having to like clean out the tip and like try to shake it down to the bottom, just because I was just trying to limp it through this video. Just limp it through the video. But I have since opened a new one, and so it's not an issue any longer. So here, cutting the sprigs just allow me to kind of like spread them out a little bit more. And with that holly, I did like lay it down, but I didn't like push it down so that I could fit my pine behind it. Same thing, I'm just laying my bow here while I figure out where my berries are going to go, and then I can go ahead and put my bow on top. For the sentiment, like you can see, I've kind of canted my my arrangement a little bit to the left because I was going to put my sentiment on the, what did I just say? I canted it to the right so I could put my sentiment on the left. That's what I'm trying to say. And I decided to pop it up because my bow is a little bit up. And so I used the black foam tape for that so you wouldn't be able to see it. And then I'm going to use my rainbow rhinestones to accent my sentiment and then also fill in a little bit of that kind of blank space. I do like to typically use like 3 different sizes when I'm doing my little accents, and so I put 2 that were the same size next to each other, and I had to fix that immediately. Immediately. So then, of course, we added the clear shimmer pen to the candy canes and to the berries, and then I added my white gel pen accents. I added them to the candy canes, the bow, and the berries as well. And then in order to just set the bow apart quite a bit, so everything wasn't blending in, I used my Stardust stickles right over top of those to make them nice and glittery. Alternatively, you could just cut it out of glitter paper. So, but then that was the last thing that I did. I still love that 3D embossing. I think it really still is the star of the show. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I always appreciate your time, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.